listening to the 165th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cam. I spent the last few days in Florida, a little vacation with the family.
Oh.
That was nice.
You see any sights?
Oh, yeah, it's just beautiful sights. It was still warm there.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike here. But got back about 1:30 or so in the morning last night, I guess, which is kind of a weird way to say that. But so I was in the Charlotte, North Carolina airport about 8 hours ago, but here I am. And
thanks for being here with us.
I'm ready.
What was your favorite part of your vacation?
Oh, just not working and I don't know.
It's always nice.
The beach is nice. I don't know. It was really chill. It was kind of off season in Florida, so it was not very busy or anything. So very nice.
It's Halloween this weekend.
It is.
Happy Halloween. Well, how does Halloween rank on your holiday list?
Below Thanksgiving and Christmas probably, but it's unique. It's fun. I like it.
Was it a big thing in your household growing up? Were you always looking forward to Halloween?
Maybe a little bit. Like we always did trick or treating and we dressed up and stuff like that. But I don't know that we never had crazy decorations outside our house or anything like that growing up. But it's still fun.
Halloween for me growing up was always my favorite, and only as I've gotten older has Christmas and Thanksgiving inched their way up the list, and that's mostly because of the food.
Yeah.
With those two holidays, but I always was psyched for Halloween.
Yeah.
As a kid, and the years where Halloween fell on a weekend was literally better than Christmas for me. And I would always want to go with super scary costumes.
I was just about to ask, were you the kid with the really gory mask?
Well, my parents would very rarely let me go as far as I wanted to go with stuff like that. And also we didn't have a ton of money growing up, so it was always okay, if you get this costume that you have to pay money for, you got to make it last for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
If you want to go homemade, then we can do something different this year. Okay, well, it is what it is. But yeah, I always loved Halloween. So happy Halloween to all the listeners and viewers.
There was something kind of interesting about going trick-or-treating, just seeing all the different houses. Every house had kind of a different little personality and different people that came to. It was always all right, who's going to open this door? I don't know. It's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it is kind of funny just to think about just children just running around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's something that was pretty normal. It probably still is pretty normal. I'm, very removed from that scene. But as an adult, it's it's kind of weird. Just kids running everywhere, just ringing people's doorbells.
Yep.
It's mostly supervised. Well, Kyle, this week we're getting into basketball talk. We're going to start with this week. We're going to do basketball player previews. So we're going to go down the whole roster, talk about all the players, what they bring to the table. And we've got a lot of new faces to talk about this week. And then next week, we'll look at the schedule and make our predictions on how we think the season will go. So if you are listening to this, maybe you have friends or family that maybe listened to us at the beginning of the football season and maybe have fallen off a little bit because of how the season has gone. Well, now would be the time to let them know we are starting basketball talk, and you want to get in on this early so that you know who the players are and what to expect this season. So if you're still listening to us from football season, we appreciate you. And to let people know it's time to start thinking about basketball.
Yeah, if you're still here, we really appreciate you.
We are going to preview the Vanderbilt game, the football game. So we have that to look forward to. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Kyle, there are a lot of players from last year's basketball team that are not returning. I'm going to read you a list of them. Drew Smith, Jeremiah Tillman, Mark Smith, Drew Buggs, Xavier Pinson, Mitchell Smith, Parker Brown, and Torrance Watson. That is 8 players out of the 11 on last year's team that produced any sort of statistic whatsoever.
Yeah, this is a total refresh, just starting over. there's a lot of turnover in college basketball just across the board this year, but I can't imagine many more teams having more turnover than Missouri did this year.
Yeah, it's insane. And especially when you consider that one of the 3 players returning is Jordan Wilmore, who didn't contribute very many stats whatsoever. So, like, out of the 11 players that did anything, played a minute in any game, 8 of them are gone.
Yep.
And, like, 4 of the top 5 scorers, like, most of the top of every statistic. Obviously, Drew Smith, if you don't know, he actually has a 2-way contract, I believe, with the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
So good for him. Tillman's been attempting to do the same thing, but it looks like he'll probably get a shot overseas with a pro team, most likely. Mark Smith is with Kansas State. Drew Buggs is with another team I can't remember.
Kind of like a mid-major team, I believe.
Xavier Pinson is with LSU, unfortunately, and Mitchell Smith did get a contract with an overseas pro team. Torrance Watson is with Elon. Parker Brown is with,
I think, like Santa Clara or something.
Yes. So lots of turnover, lots of new faces coming into the program. Yeah. And that's where we will start with the incoming freshmen. And we'll start with Kayla Brown, obviously younger brother of junior Kobe Brown. He's a 3-star player from Huntsville, Alabama. And he is one of the more intriguing players on this whole roster just because of his size and skill set. He was not a highly touted recruit by any means. I think he was unranked in the recruiting circles for a long time and then just barely got a 3-star rating late in his recruitment. But he is a big kid, and he can handle the ball, can shoot it a little bit, can make plays. So he's very intriguing, but obviously not very refined, and is more of a developmental player of this freshman class.
Yeah, obviously brother of Kobe Brown. You probably already said that, but they look very similar. They both had kind of the same situation where they didn't really quite look physically ready when they came into the program, but Kobe has transformed his body, and I'm assuming that Caleb will probably do the same thing. But Caleb is not going to probably be like an instant impact guy at Mizzou. He doesn't need to be. There's a lot of guys in front of him, but in high school he's kind of a do-it-all player. I mean, he was like running point as like a 6'6", whatever. I don't even know how much he weighed, but he was just a big guy, and he was scoring, he was passing, he was really doing it all. So he does have kind of an intriguing skill set that maybe he'll be pretty impactful in a couple years.
Yeah, the official roster has him at 6'6", 250.
Wow.
And he primarily played point guard for his high school team.
Yeah, I thought I saw a picture of him a couple days ago, and it looked like he maybe had slimmed down already a little bit. So just with some time in the workout room.
Yeah. Next up, we will talk about the 2 freshmen from Springfield. Trayvon Brazil, 3-star player. He is 6'7" and very, very thin. He has the opposite work to do. He really needs to bulk up and add some muscle to his frame, but he's insanely athletic. I think if he were to contribute early, it would be mostly on the defensive side of the ball and being able to finish plays at the rim. He has a little bit of an outside shot, but I kind of see him and Kayla Brown as both being guys that I don't expect to see much from for a couple years.
I agree. We will probably reference it quite a bit throughout these previews because it's really all we have to go on so far, but we have seen a few stats, a few things from the secret scrimmage against Creighton about a week ago. And for whatever reason, it looks like Trayvon Brazil didn't play in that game. I don't know if he was banged up or something, or if he just really is, that far down the lineup. I don't know. But I agree with you. Yeah, he definitely offers some pretty incredible upside with his athleticism. He has a 7-foot wingspan. So he is going to be bouncy. He's going to disrupt the passing lanes and block shots, and yeah, like you said, he can definitely stretch the floor, and he might, kind of be a stretch four whenever he's ready to contribute. But I definitely agree with you. He's going to be probably more of an impact down the road.
So I have a little bit of a comparison here.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that Trayvon Brazile is going to turn into this player, but Trayvon Brazile on his 24/7 recruiting profile listed at 6'7", 180, 3-star player, number 183 in the nation for his class. And there's a Mizzou recruit from years ago who is listed coming out of high school, 6'7", 180, 3-star.
Can I guess who it is?
You can. Number 200 in the country, and was known as a bouncy player, blocked some shots, not going to contribute a lot on offense early.
Well, I didn't follow recruiting this long ago, so I'm not sure where this person would have ranked, I guess, coming in, but are you thinking Lawrence Bowers?
Lawrence Bowers is the player. So nearly identical recruiting profiles. And Bowers didn't develop his mid-range shot that he's kind of known for today until he was out for the season, with a knee injury. So
yeah, he completely changed his game.
And he was the electric bouncy player. I'll never forget him finishing a dunk at the end of the Kansas State game on the road when Missouri kind of pulled a little upset there. Mm-hmm. And just threw down a massive garbage time dunk at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And that's the type of player that Brazile is right now. He can just go dunk it any which way and block some shots and just be really bouncy. So
yeah, those pre-ACL injury highlights for Lawrence Bowers are pretty insane.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm not saying that he's going to turn into that type of player, but
similar body.
It is possible for a kind of into the bench freshman, 3-star, skinny, athletic guy to develop and be a contributor.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have his teammate from Kickapoo in high school here in Springfield, Anton Brookshire, a 6-foot point guard who was obviously the primary scorer in high school for Kickapoo. He's the all-time leading career scorer in the history of Springfield Public Schools. So, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, even to be the leading scorer for Kickapoo is pretty amazing because I say we because I'm a Kickapoo alum, but there's been a lot of great players that have come out of a Kickapoo. I'm pretty sure we still have a Kickapoo alum that's in the NBA currently whose name somehow escapes me.
Anthony Tolliver.
Yes. He's got to be 40 years old at this point.
Got to be close. Is he still kicking around the NBA?
I think
he was very recently.
Yeah, I don't know if he still is, but he was a year or two ago.
Yeah. Brookshire is kind of a do-it-all point guard. We watched him play at the Tournament of Champions. Specifically, we watched him go up against Oak Hill and put up 33 points in that game. Mm-hmm. They really didn't have an answer for him. It seemed like they were okay with him getting his points if they just made sure he was the only one scoring for Kickapoo.
Yeah.
And that worked out. Obviously, they just have so much talent all across the roster that they were able to withstand it. But he looked really good. And a couple of the coaches in that Tournament of Champions said, this kid from Kickapoo is the best guard we've played against this season.
If he were at a bigger high school, he might be blowing up more in recruiting.
There was I forget which school it was, but I think maybe it was Christ the King in New York. He said, this guy is as good or better than any point guard we've seen in New York.
Yeah, I believe that.
So that being said, I don't know if I don't think he's going to come in and run the show from the point guard position day one. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a considerable amount of playing time at point guard, but I think we will see some freshman struggles. I think he'll probably be pretty inefficient scoring the ball if he tries to do much of that, and probably will have, freshman turnovers that are head scratching and stuff like that. But I think we will see him score against lesser competition pretty well and put up some decent assist numbers, make some flashy plays on offense from time to time. But again, the story of this whole freshman class is players that can develop into SEC type players in years to come.
Yeah, and hopefully that there's enough experience and older guys on this team to where the freshmen don't have to contribute right away, and that's actually a little bit different than some of the Konzo Martin teams we've seen in the past, where, remember Torrance Watson and Pickett, they came in the same year and were both like starting as freshmen because they just had to contribute immediately. But that's definitely not the case on this team. But I do think Anton Brookshire could definitely get in there some. He's probably going to be a streaky shooter. He might have one of those games where he just hits like 3 or 4 threes in a game or something like that. But he'll probably play some reserve point guard or something too.
Yeah, I mean, true point guard is one area where they could use some help, in my opinion. I mean, that's
just general ball handlers.
Yeah, that's a spot where a freshman could get some playing time. So he's kind of set up okay there. Another spot is in the post, and that brings us to Yayakita, 6'9" forward from DeSmet High School in St. Louis. And he was super under the radar recruit. And Missouri kind of hopped on him early and locked up his commitment without really letting him look around too much. And I think they'll reap the benefits of that because his body looks college ready day one. And he did have a knee injury last year that kept him out of his senior season of basketball in high school, but he seems to be recovering well from that from all accounts, and he's super athletic and long wingspan. I think he could be impactful on the defensive end right away. And between him and Jordan Wilmore, if you're looking for a guy to really play the 5 spot this upcoming season, I think he has a better chance than Wilmore based on what little we've seen of Wilmore to get some minutes at the 5.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're just different players, and Yayakita is, like you said, just a crazy athlete, ridiculous vertical. I remember seeing some pretty crazy dunks from him in high school before he got hurt and stuff, but just really high motor. He's going to play hard 100% of the time, and I think we'll see him quite a bit. I mean, I definitely think he could probably play 15, 20 minutes a game potentially this year as a freshman.
Then we have Sean Dura Gordon, who is technically a redshirt freshman because he didn't enroll last year and then redshirted the second half of the season. So he traveled with the team, practiced with the team. He's 6'5" forward, and he is kind of touted at this point as maybe a defensive specialist, but he likes to post videos of him shooting threes in the practice gym, and his shot looks really good. He's another guy that's super athletic, and I think that's going to be another theme throughout the whole roster is a general upgrade in athleticism over the last couple Mizzou basketball teams.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what's maybe most exciting about this team in general is just the athleticism and the length, and I think the defense will be better and stuff. But just talking about Dura Gordon, I definitely think that he's kind of a 3-and-D guy, but definitely has the ability to slash and get to the rim too. We've seen some highlights of him dunking in practice and stuff like that too. So again, kind of the theme of the freshman for the most part. Don't know that he'll be relied upon very much his first year, but just because he's got some guys in front of him in the position he plays. But I hope that he really sticks around for the long term because I think he could be a really good player.
Yeah, I think maybe he would be potentially the most ready to contribute of this freshman group, but unfortunately has the most guys in front of him at his position, just kind of that general wing 3-and-D type player. I mean, there's a couple upperclassmen that fit right into that mold that I think will get time ahead of him. Mm-hmm. So overall, the freshman class has some upside, but it's not the most flashy. I mean, all of these guys are 3-star recruits. I kept waiting for Brookshire's status to go up in the recruiting rankings, but it never really happened. And so we'll see what we get. I mean, I think this is kind of and knowing that we do have Aiden Shaw coming in next year, that kind of helps make this freshman class a little bit more palatable. And I just hope that, kind of like what we always say about freshmen, I hope we don't have to rely on them too much. I hope they can kind of ease themselves into playing at the college level, and the fan base can be a little bit relaxed and patient with these guys. Moving on to sophomores, we've got 2 of them. The first one is a transfer from Massachusetts, Ronnie De Gray III. He averaged 8 points and 4 rebounds per game, shot 54% from the field and 37% from 3, in about 27 minutes per game as a freshman. He did score 21 points against Rhode Island and 19 against St. Joe's in the Atlantic 10 tournament. So kind of a do-it-all forward. He has a decent three-point shot. 37% is not bad. Not a lot of attempts, though. And he, in a lot of games, kind of took on the scoring role as a freshman for Massachusetts. They obviously had a really good player in Trey Mitchell, who transferred to Texas. And so I was watching some of their highlights from last year, and there's a lot of two-man game between Ronnie De Gray and Trey Mitchell, where he was finding Mitchell down low for some easy baskets, and they would kind of bring De Gray into like the high post area and let him kind of facilitate. I mean, they were always looking to get the ball to Mitchell down low, but it worked really well, and he seems to have an eye for that post entry pass.
Definitely good like interior passer for sure. He's not quite as like explosive as some of the players that we just talked about with like Dura Gordon or Yayakita, but he's almost kind of has like an old man's game a little bit. I think he's kind of have a smooth jumper, can get in the lane and kind of do a little teardrop action, but he was really pretty efficient at UMass. And I mean, honestly, I don't know. I say he's a smooth jumper. His shot isn't the most beautiful thing I've seen, but it just goes in. And I don't know what they'll have him do as far as three-point shooting, because he didn't do it a ton at UMass, but when he did shoot it, he was pretty efficient. So I think Ronnie De Gray might be kind of like the sixth man off, the first man off the bench or something. He'll play a lot. I don't really know exactly how they'll use him, but he can probably play a little bit of the three. Mainly be at the four though.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that we see a lot this year, is kind of an undersized interior presence for Missouri, just because the youth is, the experience that we have is not in the post. So I think we're going to skew small a lot of the time at the four, and we're going to see a lot of like high post facilitating from that spot. And I think Ronnie De Gray fits that role perfectly, and he can stretch the floor a little bit. But last year for Massachusetts, he shot 61% from two, which is excellent.
Yeah.
So if he can keep that up, he got to the free throw line a lot. His effective field goal percentage was one of the best on the team.
Yeah, I think that's going to be also a theme for this team. I think we're going to see a pretty vast improvement in like interior scoring, just 2-point efficiency.
Yeah, some mid-range too.
For sure.
Okay, the other sophomore on the roster is Jordan Wilmore. He is huge. He is 7'3", and Konzo is saying that he has worked on his body a lot in the off season and has slimmed down a little bit, put on a little bit of muscle. And my question to you, Kyle, is will we see him in very many games this year? He played in 5 games last year. Didn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, I think we will. I feel like I heard Konzo in an interview recently kind of talking about Jordan Wilmore and his development. And, apparently he's seriously lost a lot of weight, like 70 or 80 pounds. He looks a lot better, a lot thinner. And one thing Konzo kind of talked about was maybe just a mindset change, where last year, he knew he was brand new to the program. He had Jeremiah Tillman, who's been a staple of Mizzou basketball for like 5 years, playing in front of him. I think he knew he just wasn't really going to be relied upon last year.
Yeah.
But knowing that he's got a shot to really make a difference this year and kind of potentially own the role down low, I think that was kind of like a light bulb moment for him, where he was like, all right, I got to transform my body. I got to figure out how to get in shape. Because, when you watched him on the floor last year, he looked very slow and just kind of, heavy-footed, and didn't really look like he was ready to contribute, and wasn't. But he's the kind of guy where, you don't get 7'3" dudes very often who are fairly athletic for being 7'3".
Yeah.
So he's the kind of guy where if you can be patient with him and really work hard on his development, he might end up being a really good player at some point. But I think we'll definitely see him in most games this year, at least in some fashion.
Will he average more points per game or fouls per game?
I'll say points, but it might be close.
Okay. All right, moving on to the juniors. We have a transfer from Green Bay, Amari Davis, a 6'3" guard, and he is kind of another kind of like throwback player for college basketball in 2021. He's a mid-range specialist. He does get to the rim some, but he's not much of a three-point shooter. He is happy to kind of pull up from mid-range and get his points there, and he did that a lot at Green Bay. He was their leading scorer, and he was in some games like their only offense, and it was all coming from mid-range. So definitely not something you typically see in college basketball in 2021, but if he can score at all, then that will be welcome to Mizzou basketball.
Yeah, he truly has maybe the most unique skill set I've seen in a player in a really long time. Like, he just does not shoot threes, especially like his freshman year. I don't think he even shot more than like 5 3-pointers in his entire season.
He was 0 for 8.
0 for 8, but he still averaged, a good amount of points, like double-digit points probably.
Yeah.
And he's just, I don't know. It's kind of one of those guys where the analytics say this guy is not going to be able to continue scoring at the rate he's going at, but he just kind of figures, he just finds a way. And I don't know, he's just a good basketball player. He's a smart player, but I don't know. I think he did improve his three-point shooting his sophomore year, but on this team, I don't know if we'll need him to shoot a lot of threes, but we may just kind of let him find his spots on the interior and do his thing.
Yeah, I'll be totally content with him not shooting threes, honestly. He played a ton of minutes at Green Bay both seasons. I mean, for a freshman and sophomore, he had played the 5th most minutes in his conference as a sophomore. And he also was the 6th highest in percentage of shots taken in the conference as well as a sophomore. He was really good at not turning the ball over. He was pretty good at getting steals, good at getting to the free throw line, about an 80% free throw shooter. So those are all good things that obviously contribute to your efficiency being pretty high, but he only shot 28% from 3 on 82 attempts. That's way too many attempts for that bad of a percentage.
For sure. It sounded like they almost just forced him to shoot threes almost, because I mean, if he were to be, if he was able to develop a consistent 3-point shot, if he was able to shoot, 33 to 35% or something from 3, he would be an unbelievable scoring threat.
He would unlock a new level to his game for sure.
Yeah, because what was he averaging, like 19, 20 points a game?
Yeah.
Almost entirely in 2-point shots.
And free throws,
Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to be able to do that at the next level. I mean, a lot of times guys can score at lower levels and they hit a wall when they get to the kind of the Power 5 level, but I mean, I kind of still think that analytics and just watching him play, you're like, surely this guy is not going to be able to continue doing this, and he just keeps doing it. He's been doubted his whole career, and he just keeps proving people wrong. So hopefully he continues to do that.
I agree. Next we have this. Okay, we got a first name here that's going to be a struggle to pronounce until we hear it regularly on broadcast and stuff. But Konzo Martin himself pronounced it Jayvon Gordon from Kansas State. 6'4" guard. Konzo's talked about it, so if you've listened to him much, you'll know he was one of the best rebounders from any guard position in the Big 12 last year, and that's something that he brought from high school. I mean, in high school, he was asked to kind of run the offense a little bit, and he was just like super athletic, could shoot a little bit, and he was actually a top 100 recruit out of high school, went to Kansas State. He's originally from Chicago, and he just hasn't really been able to get it going on offense so far in his 2 seasons at Kansas State. I don't know that we can expect him to take a huge jump coming to Mizzou. Again, not an awesome 3-point shooter, not an efficient scorer really across the board, but high motor guy, good defensive player, long arms, can block shots because of his wingspan plus athleticism. He's kind of like a put-back dunk specialist. Like, he is always looking for opportunities to go up and get the ball and put it back in, and that contributes to his rebounding numbers. But overall, he's just kind of has a nose for the ball on defense, as well as like getting offensive rebounds and stuff. Was one of the best in the Big 12 last year. Yeah,
I think there's always going to be a role for players like that, even for Jayvon Gordon, who can't shoot super well. He averaged like 9 or 10 points a game last year, just mainly on, slashing or putbacks and stuff like that. I actually think that there's a chance he is a much better fit in this Cuonzo Martin offense than he was at Kansas State. And just I think they're going to look to push the ball a lot more this year and play fast in transition. And I think that could actually really help Gordon out a ton. I'm kind of excited to see what he can do. Still, averaging 9 or 10 points a game, that's still, if he could do that at Mizzou, that's definitely pretty impactful still.
Yeah, he didn't have a ton of shots at Kansas State when things kind of started to fall apart there last year. They had like a 12-game losing streak in conference play. They kind of just threw a lot of stuff at the wall to try to find something that worked on offense. So he did take more shots at that point and was just not very efficient. But the whole Kansas State offense was pretty abysmal last year. If he can kind of just be a defensive stopper and really, really good rebounder from kind of the guard wing position for Missouri this season, then I think he will get lots of minutes. I don't think Cuonzo will want to keep him on the bench very much. He's just, he seems like the type of guy that you can just throw out there for 30 plus minutes a game, and he's not going to score a ton, not going to be super impactful on the offensive end, but if he can just kind of own his role as a defender and high-level rebounder, then I think he will get all the minutes he could hope for. Before I'm going to skip Kobe Brown and let's talk about another newcomer to the program, Jeron Boogie Coleman, transfer from Ball State, 6'5", and he is very intriguing to me because he basically played like a classic point forward position for Ball State. He most of the time was like their 4, but he was their point guard. So he was absolutely a classic point forward. And he is going to be one of the best three-point shooters on Missouri's team this year. He shot 42% last year from 3 for Ball State. So something that we have desperately needed the last couple seasons. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, he can provide some shooting from deep, but also he's going to be asked to be the primary ball handler, I think, a lot of the time. So will he have those opportunities to make plays for himself? Yet to be determined.
Yeah, I definitely think Boogie Coleman could kind of almost be the X factor in this offense a little bit. Like you said, he has a history of shooting really well from 3. A lot of these players don't have that history, so I feel like he's going to be relied upon pretty heavily to stretch the floor in that way. And just with oh man, it's so early in the morning. What is the assistant coach's name?
Cornell Mann.
Cornell Mann. I with him still on staff, I really think they're going to want to run things through the 4 position. I think he's just going to be a very important piece of the offense and what they're trying to do in the half court.
I absolutely agree. One fun little tidbit, Jeron Coleman played last year, obviously at Ball State, alongside former Missouri Tiger KJ Walton. Still playing for Ball State last year. That was his final year of eligibility, I do believe, though. He technically had 2 senior seasons at Ball State. He has had some injuries that he had to deal with since leaving Mizzou, but he was their best player. KJ Walton, best player on Ball State's roster last year, and still didn't shoot threes. I know I'm off on a tangent here, but in his last 3 years of college basketball, he was a combined 1 for 19 from 3.
KJ Walton.
Yep. But back to Boogie Coleman. His last year at Ball State, obviously he was just a sophomore. He was one of their highest possession guys. He had the 5th best assist rate in the conference last year, and also the 9th best three-point shooting percentage in the conference last year. So that's obviously he is going to be a guy that is going to dominate the ball, I think, and make plays for his teammates. And I can see him kind of taking over that Drew Smith role of facilitating the offense, just being sound at the point guard position. And I think I think we're going to be saying some of the same things of like, man, we got to find a way to get Boogie his shot more. We got to get him taking more 3-pointers, kind of like we did with Drew Smith from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Then the last junior that we'll talk about is Kobe Brown. You know him, you love him. He averaged 8 points, 6 rebounds last year, shot 47% from the field, but only 24% from three. On honestly too many attempts for that low of a percentage. What are you expecting from Kobe this year? Is he going to take a step?
I think he will. I just always kind of feel like I love those intangibles about college sports sometimes, and one of those things is just kind of like we talked about with Jordan Wilmore earlier, just knowing you are one of the more experienced guys on the team and knowing you're going to be relied upon to kind of take a step. I think guys sometimes, when they realize that, they do it, and they kind of seize that opportunity. And I think that is something that Kobe Brown probably feels right now. He's one of two guys left over basically from last year's team, one of two contributors.
Yeah. And
I think he looks really good. His body looks like he's just been working really hard. I think he's going to find a role, and I don't know exactly where that's going to be. I think he might even be expected to play the 5 some in smaller lineups this year. I think he might be kind of used interchangeably, but I don't know. Do you think that he'll shoot as many threes as he did last year?
I hope not. I would be happy with the whole team shooting fewer threes than they did last year, and hopefully the flow of the offense kind of caters to this squad being more efficient in mid-range to post play on offense. So I hope kind of we see a down trend on 3-point shooting altogether. But yeah, if Kobe Brown can play like 70% of minutes instead of 52% like he did last year, and bring his rebounding and just kind of sound play on offense to those extended minutes, then I think he can definitely be impactful. I worry about kind of entrusting much of the scoring expectation to him. He has been efficient on his 2-point shooting. Last year, he was 9th in the conference in 2-point shooting field goal percentage, but only 74 attempts. So he wasn't really asked to do a whole lot, but when he found his opportunities, he was efficient with them.
Not a great free throw shooter either.
No, so that is a problem, and he didn't really get to the line very much, all things considered. I think with Kobe, we will see him kind of take that Kevin Puryear role of and we saw this some last year, of them trying to run the offense through him at the top of the key. They'll get it to him. He's probably not going to bring the ball down that much, but they will work the offense into him being at the top of the key with the ball, making a read for an entry pass to the post, or driving on his guy, or kicking it out for a 3-point shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he can be great in that role. I don't know if he's going to ever be a high-volume shooter, but I definitely think he is a high IQ guy who can get others involved and facilitate and kind of create some mismatches at the 4 position.
I think, obviously, not seeing any of these guys play together, I think I would rather see Coleman facilitating with Kobe being the person receiving the ball in the post versus Kobe trying to facilitate into the post for Jordan Wilmore or Yayakita. At this point, that's Coleman being at the top of the key, trying to make a play because of his ability to shoot from deep. Makes more sense to me at this point, but that might be, I don't think that's what Missouri's coaching staff has in mind. I think they still want to, it'll be interesting to see what they do, because if they consider Coleman as like the guy playing the 4 spot and really embrace that point forward role for him, then I could see Kobe being the primary post player most of the time. Mm-hmm. But if Coleman isn't bringing the ball up the floor, then I could see them playing a more traditionally big lineup with Kobe at the 4.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these guys' skills are pretty interchangeable, and I definitely feel like we're the closest we've ever been to positionless basketball in the Conza Martin era, that's for sure.
Yeah, they've definitely made an effort to go that direction, and when Yayakita and Jordan Wilmore are both on the bench, that's when we'll see the most versatility and positionless basketball for sure.
Do you think it's possible to ever see Kobe Brown, Boogie Coleman, and Ronnie De Gray on the floor at the same time?
Yes. I do think that will happen. I mean, why would you go this route with your roster if you're not going to lean on that versatility and, try to mix things up like that?
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to the lone senior on the squad, and that is Jayvon Pickett. He averaged 6 points, 2 rebounds in 17 minutes per game last year, shot 50% from the field with 36% from three. What more can you say about Jayvon Pickett? I mean, he is like the prototypical Konzo Martin player. Obviously, Coach loves him, and Jayvon is hard-nosed, hard worker, fights for everything that he gets on offense and defense, and willing to take charges, willing to, just put it all on the line to make a play. And even though he's not the most skilled player on the floor pretty much any time, he's always like maximum effort all the time. And obviously that is something that Konzo wants to keep around.
I don't think Konzo Martin could have hand-selected a better player for somebody in this situation where you're welcoming so many new faces and you need a leader to kind of set the precedent for expectations and like how we do things around here.
Yeah.
And I feel like Jayvon Pickett, I mean, you couldn't pick a better person to kind of demonstrate, okay, around here we work hard and we
take pride in defense and rebounding and making the little plays.
All that for sure. So I think Jayvon Pickett is a fantastic leader for the team. He and Kobe Brown both, I think, probably just fantastic ambassadors for what Konzo Martin wants to instill in his players. So as far as on the court, Jayvon Pickett, he's had some good moments in his Mizzou career. He's fairly limited athletically, like a lot of the players on last year's team were. A lot of those players were that way. But, in the secret scrimmage, in the information that we do have, Jayvon Pickett was kind of the alpha. He played the most minutes by far out of anybody on the team. He scored the most points. He was facilitating. He was kind of doing it all. And I don't know if that's Pickett taking the next step or if that just means that we're in for a dark season, which we could be anyway. But regardless, we'll kind of figure some of those things out once we get to watch the team and stuff. But I definitely think this seems like it's kind of Pickett's team, and that could be great. It could be a little scary, but I love Jayvon Pickett. He's kind of just been a great player to watch and just a great Missouri Tiger. Yeah,
and I think the scary part of it obviously comes from him being relied on the offensive side, scoring the ball. And like we could say that if there were more than 2 players returning from last year, we would be saying this about every single one of them. I mean, that's part of the reason why we don't have very many players returning from last year, is because scoring the ball was a challenge.
And a lot of them went to lower level teams.
Exactly. Yeah. So getting an influx of new talent, new guys that can hopefully get the ball in the basket, hopefully that relieves some of the pressure off of Kobe Brown and more importantly, Jayvon Pickett. But we can't, obviously there's a problem when we go down the entire roster and go, okay, hopefully this guy's not relied on to score the ball a ton.
Yeah.
If we say that about every single player, like unless all of them average 9 points a game, including Jordan Wilmore, then it's just not going to work offensively. So
right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of precedent for Pickett or Kobe Brown to be the guy to score the ball on offense.
Exactly.
And because we have because we've seen more of Pickett, it seems like, Kobe Brown has a better chance of developing into that role. But I think the scoring burden is going to have to come to one of the newcomers, probably Gordon and Amari Davis.
Yeah, just as a guy that we turn to get a bucket. I mean, yeah, now that we've kind of talked about every guy, I guess just my general thoughts on the team. I think this team is a Konzo Martin dream come true as far as these guys are tough, they're gritty, They are going to want to play hard. It seems like from the outside looking in so far, it seems like these guys are going to enjoy playing with each other. They're going to go hard on each other in practice, but turn around and be brothers at the same time. And I don't know. They're definitely not going to be this beautiful offense, and I don't know that a Conzo Martin team is ever going to be that. But these guys are going to play so hard. They're going to play really good defense. I think the defense is going to look so much better than it did last year, especially in the second half.
One of the best rebounding teams in the
country.
country.
They're going to rebound really well. Just all of those kind of things. They're going to be diving for balls and that kind of stuff. They're all, like we've talked about, athletic and long. I think they're just going to make things difficult for opposing offenses. They're going to deny entry passes, and they're going to do all the little things really, really well. And unfortunately, the big question mark is, how are we going to score consistently? We're going to have to get some consistent shooting from somebody. But if we can figure out how to score all right, I think this team might actually be surprisingly decent.
Yeah, I was just thinking, okay, you'll have to go with me here, but imagine this team next year with a junior Aiden Shaw. Like, obviously, this doesn't work in real life ever, but that's the kind of team that I think Conzo is like, if I could just get that, then we'd be a tournament team every year.
This team with an alpha scorer.
Yeah,
I agree. And the season hasn't started yet. They haven't faced adversity yet, so you never know what's going to happen when and if things go south. But I definitely, again, speculation, but it seemed like there were maybe some personality issues last year, maybe off the court, maybe on the court. I definitely think some of the players that were pretty high contributors maybe didn't gel with Conzo Martin all that well, and I think it sometimes created some issues. And I don't think this current team has those issues at all. It seems like everybody wants to be unselfish. Everybody wants to play for the betterment of the team for the most part. But we'll see what happens if things go south.
Yeah, you can say win when they lose games.
Yeah,
because that's going to happen.
Right.
All right, so let's try to predict the most frequently used starting lineup this coming season. Is there anybody? I'd say we can pencil in Kobe Brown and Jayvon Pickett as starters, right?
I agree.
Now the question is, are they starting at the 3 and 4 spot, or the 4 and 5 spot, or the 3 and 5 spot?
I'm gonna say the 3 and 5, just based on who the other guys I think will play the most.
Okay. Then Boogie Coleman seems like a surefire starter.
Yeah.
Are you putting him at the 1 or the 4?
Oh man, I don't even know. I think we'll put him at the 4, I guess.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
It's like
I almost feel like we should just pick 5 players because the positions are just so.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I know you may be right. Then I think I want to put Amari Davis at the 2. But
I think I would put. I guess I would put Gordon maybe at the 2.
Okay.
And Davis at the 1.
Yeah, I think maybe what we've done here is predicted who these players will guard on defense.
Yeah.
And then on offense, like, I guess
it's just whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I would, if my 5 guys, I think I would say Amari Davis, Gordon, Kobe Brown, Boogie Coleman, Jayvon Pickett, and then probably Ronnie De Gray is the 6th man.
I think that makes sense, and
which is all upperclassmen experienced players.
And it's all guys like 6'7" and shorter. So there's not a like true post player in the top 6 that we're projecting here. Mm-hmm. So if Jordan Wilmore or Yayakita can come in and be like the 5 spot primarily, that would be helpful for this team. But I think if they try to force that, it'll be detrimental.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of the more intriguing things. I mean, this team could be pretty mediocre this year, but I'm still going to have a blast watching them just for the sake of lineups and maybe seeing what this team could do in the future.
Yeah.
But
seeing what kind of chemistry different players have together.
Yeah, but this is really pretty fascinating to see how is Conzo Martin going to use these guys and who's going to play and in what ways. So And I forgot to say, Ronnie De Gray was actually recruited by Missouri in high school, so I feel like they obviously have a history. Conta Martin loves Ronnie De Gray, so he's going to play a lot. But and I definitely think they might play with some different starting lineups too. I don't know if that's going to be set in stone. Whatever the first game is might not be the second game.
Yeah, I mean, in Konzo's career so far at Missouri, he's played lots of different starting lineups every year, sometimes because of injury, sometimes just to switch things up.
Mm-hmm.
And the starters haven't necessarily meant that they're like getting the most minutes. I mean, we saw
Pinson start and then get pulled.
We saw Blake Harris start and play the 6 most minutes on average.
Yeah.
So
a lot of it's matchup dependent.
Yeah. I think we could see Anton Brookshire start a game or more if they kind of want to go with a more traditional point guard. Again, but that would be like a classic. This guy's going to start at point guard, but then only play 15 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Was
that your 5 as well?
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with you there. I really think Coleman will be the primary ball handler for this team. So how that shakes out offensively, I don't know. I think we will kind of always have 2 wing players that are like, what's the difference between a guard and a forward? I think between Gordon, Pickett, and Ronnie De Gray, we're going to see just kind of this kind of hybrid guard, forward, wing position quite a bit. That's the roster. That's some of our predictions. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are we underestimating any of the freshmen? Do you think you have a different 5 guys that will be key contributors? Let us know. And we are going to switch gears to football with the preview of the upcoming game against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has a new head coach from last year, Coach Clark Lee, and they are 2-6 on the season. They have a 3-point win over Colorado State and a 2-point victory over Connecticut.
And Colorado State's probably better than Connecticut, right? That's probably somehow a better win.
Yeah.
Than Connecticut.
And probably their loss to South Carolina is like one of their better games this year. They lost by 1 point. South Carolina is not great, but that was a decent game for Vanderbilt. They had a kind of a rough 3 games against some better SEC opponents. They played Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi State. And the average score of those 3 games was 50-3. And 6 points or 9 points came against Mississippi State. Like, I'm pretty sure they were shut out against Georgia and Florida. And like one of those games was like 60-something to 0. So Vanderbilt, not great.
Not very good.
Their offense is dead last in the country in scoring, in the entire country, 13.3 points per game. Their starting quarterback, Ken Seals, has missed the last 2 games, so we might see sophomore Mike White. But either way, Vanderbilt's quarterback play has not been great. Not the worst part of their team. Other things I think have led to the quarterback play not being great. Vanderbilt's rushing attack is averaging just under 100 yards per game this season. One of the worst in the country. The only teams that are like worse at running the ball are teams that don't even try. Like Mississippi State is worse in the country in rushing yards per game.
That Mike Leach offense.
Yeah, but that's because they literally don't care. If they were like when they play Mizzou, they would probably
and they did last year. They
try to run the ball. Yeah. So Vanderbilt, not a good offense. Their defense is second worst in the SEC.
I wonder who's worst.
I don't know. We'll have to look into that. So Vanderbilt, not great.
Yeah, just bad at everything.
Thank goodness their defense is not very good because Missouri's defense, if they're ever going to put together a game that looks decent against a Power 5 team, it would be this game. And I guess before we get into that, we should back up a little bit and talk about some injuries real quick because that is going to factor into how we talk about this game a little bit. So you want to catch us up on some injuries from this week?
Yeah, somehow over the bye week, we ended up having a whole lot of guys get injured. I don't know if – I mean, is that weird? Are these guys just getting injured in practice, or are these guys that don't want to play, or what's going on here?
Well, I mean, we saw with Case Cook, he had like lingering injuries that he was trying to play through, and then eventually they were like, this isn't working, like you got to shut it down.
Yeah.
So maybe the bye week just like let them assess everything and be like, oh geez, we got some guys that are pretty banged up, we should monitor them going into the Vanderbilt game.
Maybe so.
Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe so. Yeah, so this is a pretty long list here, but guys that are questionable are Chris Abrams-Drain, Barrett Bannister, Akil Byers, Ali Green, and Michael Mayeti.
So that questionable group, we really want those guys to play.
Yeah, I mean, Abrams-Drain, I mean, he struggled at times this year, but who hasn't? And yeah. I think he's kind of a electric playmaker potentially on defense. Obviously, Michael Mayeti, I mean, we really need him to play.
Yeah.
And, you know, Byers, I mean, the D-line's getting kind of thin with Chris Turner. So, and then doubtful is Ish Burdine, Chance Looper, Sean Robinson, Johnny Walker. So, again, Johnny Walker, another defensive lineman who's been playing some. Sean Robinson, who's somehow, like, been one of the best players in the defense so far.
Yeah, I mean, is that Sean Robinson, a converted quarterback, being one of the most relied on defenders in the Mizzou secondary? Like, cool story, like great for him, but is that where we want to be as a defense? Like,
yeah, I mean, last year he started against Mississippi State, and you know, I think he had like an interception or something. Yeah. We were like, wow, like Sean Robinson, like. Holy,
great story.
He had a stat.
Yeah, that's so cool for him.
And now he's like the best player on defense. Like, yeah, that's probably not good.
Yeah. As much as we love Sean Robinson,
we love him.
We're big fans of him on this podcast.
But how is that possible? Anyways, he's doubtful. Chance Looper.
That's terrible. Also, like Sean Robinson being doubtful, considering how much he's relied on in this defense.
That's not good.
That's not good.
Chance Looper and Ish Burdine. And out, Mookie Cooper.
Okay.
So there's definitely some individuals on this list that it's like, yeah, we are a worse team because they're not going to play most likely. And then also part of me is like, well, all these guys have had their bad moments. We're terrible. We're one of the worst defenses I've ever watched in my life. And what would it hurt to have other players get in there?
I think what it'll hurt, if I know that's kind of a rhetorical question, but we're going to see less. We're not going to see the every once in a while really good play. We're going to see more of just like the mediocre to bad play consistently.
Yeah.
Because like Chris Abrams-Drain is a great example of like, yeah, he was a big part of a very bad defense, but he could provide a spark from time to time by just making a big play.
Yeah.
So look for more of the struggles with less of the upside plays.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think who we might see at center if Mike's not playing. I mean, we might see freshman Connor Tollison.
Yeah.
I don't know who else could play center. I know Connor Wood's been kind of the sixth man at O-line, but I don't know if he has many reps at center in his career. At cornerback, we might see the freshman Dalen Carnell get in there a little bit. But I mean, we might see some Stacy Brown, but I don't know. It's gonna be a hodgepodge of guys. If all of these guys are out, it might get interesting. Obviously, some of these guys are questionable. I'm assuming some of them will play.
Yeah.
But
thank goodness it's Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I mean,
seriously, and hopefully some of these injuries are not super long term.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Vanderbilt, literally one of, if not the worst offenses in the country. So, and their running attack is not good. They lost their like would-be starting running back to a season-ending injury after like 3 games this season. So their backups have not been great. Their offensive line is pretty terrible. They don't have very many explosive skill players. Their quarterback play has been not great, mostly due to their offensive line struggles. So if there was ever a team where Missouri could show some fight on defense, I mean, honestly, I could see this game going like a lesser version of Missouri's game. I would say this is probably going to be pretty similar to Missouri's game against Central Michigan, but both offenses might look a little worse. I think Missouri's offense has just kind of trended down a little bit towards the end of the season. So, but I think they'll do enough to the spread on this game is ridiculous. I think 16 points I think is where it was at most recently. That's kind of insane.
And that's come down. I think it started off at like 20.
Yeah, and for it to be a road game for Mizzou, I don't know, that's just insane. And so I would like, if I was betting, like Vanderbilt seems like an easy play and the under probably. But I've got Missouri winning this game. Probably going to be ugly. Hopefully Missouri's offense can make some plays, move the ball through the air. Hopefully they can not let a pretty terrible Vanderbilt rushing attack look good.
One thing that Steve Wilkes did say in an interview recently was that they are looking at ways to simplify the scheme. And I don't know what exactly that means. I don't know if that means just hopefully a little bit less thinking for the players. I think that just happens sometimes when you're learning a new scheme and it's complicated and there's a lot of layers and context to it. You kind of get in your own brain sometimes and you don't play fast because you're thinking about making a mistake or whatever. You're thinking about all the things you got to go through.
And stuff,
And so maybe if there's a way they've simplified the scheme a little bit, it might take some of the mental pressure off of the players so they can just focus on making a play. I don't know. But
how do we end up like twice in 4 years in a situation where we're installing a defensive scheme and the players just are like...
And it just completely breaks them?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other teams go through coordinator changes, but I don't recall very many teams just having an absolute meltdown when they have to change
The same thing happened
schemes.
with
Cross. Demonic Cross, yeah.
Like, and that was spurred on by Barry Odom. Like that was all part of the plan. Install this new defense, and then it just wasn't happening. Yeah, they had to like literally abandon it mid-season.
More like gap responsibility stuff. Yeah, that's been like almost maybe more of like an NFL style defense. That's been pretty bad for Missouri's defenses twice now.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the scheme's going to look like. I don't know if we'll be able to tell much of a difference, but I don't really care. Just stop the run, please. Please get a stop against Vanderbilt especially. So, in that Texas A&M game, we really didn't even go over that game, and we don't really need to. But, the defense did look a little better in the second half of that game. I don't know if that's because A&M took their foot off of the gas pedal or if Missouri just figured things out a little bit. I don't know. That probably didn't happen because it hasn't happened at any point this season. But I sure hope that Missouri looks a little bit better against Vanderbilt this weekend. I don't really feel comfortable choosing Mizzou against really very many teams in the country right now, but Vanderbilt's so bad, we have to win this game. So I think Missouri wins 31-21.
Okay. I've got each team scoring a field goal on top of that. I've got Missouri winning 34-24. And I would be okay
I'll take
with
the
that.
win, honestly.
Yeah, that's fine.
At this point, I want to win against an SEC team.
And there are very few opportunities left to become bowl eligible. I don't know if anybody is even thinking about that as a goal anymore. I'm sure the coaching staff is, but whether that's realistic or not, we will have a little bit better idea after this game.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're one step closer.
We'd have to beat Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and then we'd have to upset Georgia, Florida, or Arkansas. We have to win 3 more games.
Yeah.
2 games we absolutely should win, and the rest, not so much.
Right. All right, we're predicting wins by 10 points. We'll see if that comes to fruition. If that's what happens, I'll be very happy.
I'll take it.
All right, let's pick a handful of games from the SEC slate and plus Nebraska. SEC Pick'em plus Nebraska. We are getting destroyed in this competition by our Patreon guest pickers. So we'll see if they can keep it up this week. There's not a whole lot of opportunity because of bye weeks for us to get back into this thing. So let's see what we can do.
Alrighty, to tally up from last week, you two and Tim, 4 correct picks. I had 3. I went for the hero pick. Didn't work out.
You picked Nebraska or what?
LSU.
No,
LSU. Okay, I got you. They've been a tricky one to pick this year.
Yeah, seriously.
So our season totals, Kyle is at 38. I am at 39. Cameron is at 42, and the guest pickers are at 49.
Got some work to do.
Thanks, JD.
We're running out.
That
running out
one
of
week, that
clock.
1 week was just brutal.
Alrighty. First game this week is number 1 Georgia at Florida. Georgia is a 14-point favorite.
Who did Florida just lose to? LSU, like
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
yeah.
At this
Florida's
point-
been kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, they have been. At this point, I just would pick Georgia against anybody.
Georgia, please.
Georgia versus the Jets. Do the Jets?
The Jets win.
I know,
Oh my
but
gosh.
like, could they keep it within three
No.
touchdowns?
3 touchdowns, maybe. I don't know.
Wouldn't that just be interesting to watch? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, everybody knows the NFL team would win, but like, I just still want to see it happen.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah. I
And
think
Georgia's defense is just unbelievable. Like half those players are going to be are NFL players anyway.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that like Georgia's defense has players on it while they're not as far along in their development as football players. I would say most of the players on Georgia's defense are going to have better NFL careers than the players that are currently on the Jets.
The current Jets,
Mhm.
yes.
So
I don't know.
Wow.
might be more interesting. You never know. That's a conversation for another day.
All right, we're all on Georgia. Our guest picker this week is Britt. Good luck, Britt.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Alrighty, game number 2 is number 10 Ole Miss at number 18 Auburn. Auburn is a 2.5-point favorite. Give me Ole Miss.
Oh, that's such an
You
easy,
want Ole Miss?
That's such an
Yeah.
easy upset pick for me. Ole Miss.
Auburn's the favorite.
yeah.
They've been like
They've been a little hit or miss.
LSU light as far as like. I don't know.
Ole Miss they've been standing up to the challenge.
I agree. Even when they get golf balls thrown at them.
And mustard bottles.
Yeah. Give me Ole Miss. Yeah.
So all 4 of us did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that takes the fun out of it. But I still can't pick Auburn. I'm not going to
No.
do it.
All right, game 3, number 12 Kentucky at Mississippi State. Kentucky is a 1.5-point favorite.
Oof. Mississippi State has been okay this year, if not good.
Kind of like
Texas A&M, you always call them every single week. Call them a fraud.
Yeah.
So this seems
Fraudulent.
Like, this seems like the time that you would pick against them.
Who?
Who?
Texas A&M?
Yeah.
This is Mississippi State.
Yeah, who are they playing?
Kentucky.
Oh shoot.
But Texas A&M is fraudulent. Yes, I agree with you, but
I thought-
irrelevant at the moment.
I thought they were playing Texas A&M.
Mississippi State, I have said they're fraudulent in the past. I think I've even said they suck in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year. It's kind of a clash of different styles.
Absolutely.
But I think I like Kentucky here.
I do too. I gotta pick Kentucky.
Britt also has Kentucky.
Mix it up. Mix it up.
I mean, we're not gonna catch the guess if we don't. I'll take Mississippi State.
Okay.
Okay.
You're definitely not gonna catch the guess doing that.
We appreciate it.
Gosh. All right, in the last game, Purdue at Nebraska. Nebraska is a 7.5-point favorite. Give me Nebraska.
Purdue just beat Iowa recently,
Yeah,
right?
They did. Like
What?
handily.
What in the world?
Not saying I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, no.
7 points. I'll take Purdue.
Oof. Who did Britt take?
Nebraska.
Give me Purdue.
Oh man,
This is terrible. Nebraska's probably gonna win.
They never win
They
anything.
They almost win a lot.
They do. They almost win. They look really competitive for 90% of the game.
I bet they win.
So are you picking them? Or?
No.
Okay.
Go
All right.
Purdue.
That
Let's
makes
go.
sense.
All right.
Is that it?
I think that's it.
That's it.
All right.
Small slate again.
Good
It's gonna
luck,
be
everyone.
It's going to be a B7 episode, probably. Anything else?
No, I'm glad basketball season's here.
Me too.
It'll be a fun time. More games to watch.
For sure.
If you are new to the channel, new to the podcast, this time of year when these sports overlap, we're gonna have longer episodes. So buckle up, strap in. We're gonna be talking about a lot of games, especially when the actual games overlap. We're recapping and previewing every week, but it'll be a fun time. Lots of content for you.
Yep.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Lee, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, and Tim Keynes. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys so much. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
Thank you guys so much. You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week after a win.
See you on the gridiron.